In the winter of 1889, deep within the fog-draped valleys of Vienna, a quiet gathering of minds took place at the Royal Institute of Natural Philosophy. It was not announced in any newspaper, nor recorded in any scientific journal. The attendees were handpicked, mathematicians, physicists, and philosophers whose reputations could move nations of thought. But this time, they came not to publish discoveries, but to challenge the foundation of reality itself. A long oak table stood in the center of the dimly lit hall. Around it sat men and women who had shaped the 19th century's scientific triumphs: electricity, thermodynamics, evolution. At the head of the table stood Dr. Elias von Richter, whose precise calculations had mapped the orbits of celestial bodies with near perfection. He was the embodiment of reason, the voice of certainty. Facing him sat Professor Aurelia Moreau, known equally for her brilliance and her heresy. She had spent years studying phenomena that could not be repeated, particles that vanished when watched, light that behaved like matter only when ignored. Her ideas whispered of madness, yet her eyes held the quiet conviction of someone who had glimpsed something true. Dr. Richter began. Science is the art of prediction. If the universe were known in full, every atom, every law, then the future would unfold as inevitably as the ticking of this clock. Professor Moreau smiled faintly. And yet, Doctor, even your clock behaves strangely when watched under the right conditions. What if prediction fails not because we lack knowledge, but because reality itself is not fixed until we look? The room stirred. A few of the scholars murmured in protest. Others leaned forward, drawn to her words like moths to a flame. Richter's voice grew sharp. You speak of magic, not science. The world does not change for our eyes. It exists, whether we see it or not. And yet, Aurelia replied softly, every experiment we perform requires an observer. Perhaps it is not the universe we are measuring, but the limits of our own perception. Hours passed, and tempers flared. Equations filled the blackboard, chalk dust clouding the air like smoke. Reality seemed to bend within that room as the two sides argued, determinists versus dreamers. In the corner sat Adrian, a young assistant tasked with taking notes. His hands trembled as he wrote, realizing he was witnessing the fracture of a single truth into two irreconcilable worlds. The debate grew louder until midnight, when Moreau rose and said one final thing. If the universe is a clock, then who wins it? And if no one does, perhaps it wins itself only when we care to listen. Silence. Dr. Richter gathered his papers and left without a word. The others dispersed soon after, faces pale with the weight of what they had heard. Adrian remained alone, the last witness to a secret too dangerous for textbooks. Years later, when whispers of quantum theory began to rise from the ashes of classical science, Adrian, by then an old man, recognized the same words, the same arguments, reborn under new names. He smiled faintly as he sealed his final journal entry. I was there the night science split in two. One side sought certainty, the other embraced mystery. And in that divide, the modern world was born.